Between rain showers, Chili and I made a quick circuit of the garden to see how it's waking up and look for damage. It's way too early to know what's lost, what's fixable, what's waiting, and what's unfazed. We'll have more freezes. The temperature will drop down to -6 Celsius 21 Fahrenheit this next week. But nevertheless, I'm always eager to inspect my garden in March, to see the new buds, to assess green and blackening rose canes. This is the Texan in me, expecting bluebonnets in March. But in Ontario, March is observation, not action. On Sunday, I started my first seeds, a much smaller project than last year, but still a lot to be getting on with. This is the real work of March here. It was nearly June last year when I gave up on seeing growth on a new clematis and dug it out to present it to my nurserywoman for a refund. As I pulled it out, I could see the new growth emerging beneath the surface. I damaged it because I mistook not visible for not happening. I quickly replanted it, frustrated that my impatience ripped at the roots. Now I know this one is just slow, beautiful, but late to regrow in spring. Last year, my red bud flamethrower, also known as Eternal Flame, died back to its first branch. My out-of-zone dwarf magnolia coppertalica suffered too, but not quite as badly. Plants can suddenly die or surprise us with new growth when we think all hope is lost. We can't see what's happening with the roots or what's growing beneath the surface. When I first started my healing work, I could see the immediate issues a client had, a lifetime of trauma, of illness, of growing up with a narcissist parent. But I could also see that at a deeper level, she had no damage. It was remarkable, really, that her life experiences left her unscathed. And I shared that, thinking it would comfort her. It did not. I was speaking to what was true at the deepest level, but she was living in what was true in her body, her history, her day-to-day experience. I skipped the visible layer, and that made her feel unseen, as if I discounted what she had experienced. She didn't feel the purity and resilience of her essential energy, her soul. She lived the day-to-day reality of her experiences. That's why she sought my assistance. Clearing that was my job. The garden doesn't care about my assessments. I can stand there in March making pronouncements about what's dead and what's not. Plants don't need my intervention to live and bloom and produce. They just get on with it. My role is to situate them for my pleasure, for food, and for beauty. This year I have 2 smallish garden projects, my new old pergola and redoing the beds around my compost bin, which I had to move last year. One of the things we lost when we put on our wheelchair-accessible addition was the covered section of the patio. Last year, a neighbor put out one of those Costco pergola with tent things on the curb. I have a sun allergy and wanted privacy from my neighbor, so I grabbed it, figuring I could do something with it or at least cover it with plants. Most of my garden hardscaping came from dumpsters. It wasn't attractive, especially after we squished it together a bit to fit within the city codes I know I can't violate because of that neighbor. But over winter, my contractor has come up with a plan to adapt it and make it pretty. In the end, I'll have an all-new pergola with metal support columns. I'm not sure what I'll grow as a permanent vine. Definitely clematis, possibly grapevine. In the meantime, this year, thanks to suggestions from Jonathan and Cordula Maria of Joe Thompson's The Gardening Mind, I'll be planting hyacinth bean vine and sunset runner beans from a pot to cover the structure quickly. A few months ago, another member of The Gardening Mind described her new garden bed in the colors of her wedding flowers. That inspired me to try something similar in this back corner. My wedding flowers were white roses, delphiniums, and silvery seeded eucalyptus. Last year, I planted climbing roses and clematis in that corner, including Eden White and Olympia Boulevard clematis. I already love silvery blunt-tooth mountain mint. I planned the boulevard garden around it, and here is another place I could feature it. For white flowers, maybe hellebores, daffodils, white echinacea, white salvia. I'm gathering ideas for blue flowers, maybe baptisia, lobelia, veronicas, salvias. I haven't had much luck with delphiniums lasting more than a season. And in the meantime, I have cornflower seeds, an annual to fill out the spaces as the perennials grow in, the flower that's associated with ALS. Because here's the thing, it doesn't seem to matter what I do in the garden. In some way or another, it all becomes a memorial for my husband. He didn't want to discuss his death or make all the decisions we had to make. No one likes that. And for months he deflected talk of where he should be buried by telling me to bury his ashes under the apple tree. But what if it's damaged? What if I have to take it down? He shrugged. What if I move? You are so sentimental. Yes, I am sentimental. Also damaged. I've always hated that phrase, stronger in the broken places. What does that actually mean, and how often is it true? Maybe you grow around damage. Maybe you lop it off. Maybe you dig it out completely. Maybe you live with it and watch it carefully. Some pruning rejuvenates. Some kills the plant. Some things can be planted and left to get on with it. Some things just need observation. Other things require babying, especially in this climate. Speaking of babying, after a few years without focusing on them, I've got new dahlias coming for the season from Ferncliff Gardens in BC. What do you think of this color combination? And it's time to place my live plant order from Richter's. Definitely scented pelargoniums and some herbs. We'll see what else I need. I wanted to show you my spring front planters today, but it will be at least a week, possibly 2, before I can plant them. It's been that sort of winter, the normal Ontario type. The end of March is a quiet time in the garden, but not an empty one. Most of what matters is not visible yet. I'll still go out and look, of course. That part hasn't changed. But I'm less inclined to make decisions this early in the season, less inclined to take what I can see at face value. Experience has made me just a little more patient.